Paul says, what's going on with this country? We're in a cost of living crisis here.
And Linda says he's good at throwing taxpayers' money down the drain. Let's talk to political commentator Piers Pottinger, who's here. Good to see you this morning. The irony with this is that in some respects it's not new money. It's sort of money which has already been sort of promised and all the rest of it. And yet the government's pitched it as saying this is our biggest ever contribution. I mean, it's like they've shot themselves in the foot.
Well, I think, yes, to some degree. I think there'll be more people unhappy with this than happy with this. But this is really an integral part of the whole G20 because Narendra Modi has put... The G20 in India has been the biggest thing in the country this year, and they've had over 120,000 world leaders and government officials visiting the country already ahead of the G20. And they've also admitted the African Union, which is very significant because Modi is positioning himself as the leader of the poor world.
And, yeah, but they've just put a rocket on the moon.
Yeah, absolutely.
And another rocket up in
cheap one.
Orbit.
A cheap one.
Really? Is that what it was?
It was a cheap one, apparently.
But, you know, they have their own massive space programme.
Yeah.
And for Narendra Modi to say we are the poorest country in the world sticks in the craw with a lot of people.
Well, also, it's got one of the fastest-growing GDPs in the world. And there is a bit of a dichotomy here. But the fact is there are still large parts of India. It is the most populous country in the world now, ahead of China. And there are large parts of it that are very poor and do need foreign aid. There's no question about that. And I don't think when people saw where initially that most of our aid to India goes would object. But I do think suddenly to come out with this, given that Rishi is backpedaling on all things green, to suddenly come out with a 1.6 billion handout is surprising. And it is, of course, aimed at the poorer countries, particularly those that are not controlling their emissions well. And it will be used, I think, as long as it gets to the people it should get to, wisely. But, I mean, again, I think the government announces these things so badly because instead of just saying we're giving this money, why didn't they explain the real depth of why they're doing it? Actually, where is the money coming from? If this is money that's been earmarked for a while and is actually ours to give, I thought we were having trouble repaying our debt.
Yes,
well,
I mean,
exactly
John has emailed in and said, I'm so done with the Tories once again. Sunak can give £1.63 billion to the Climate Change Fund, but can't give grants to low-income families to convert their boilers and solar panels. Yeah. I mean, he's saying, all right, go ahead with green issues domestically. Why give away such a large amount of money?
And I think there'll be much more of this because, I mean, as I say, I think they've announced it very badly and I don't think they've explained it well enough for people to get the message and understand that basically it's a worthwhile gesture.
But also in the midst of doing it at the G20 in India, which is one of the biggest polluting countries on the planet and doesn't seem to be doing a lot about it.
Well, that's true. And, I mean, again, another problem is, as you may have seen from the footage of Modi greeting Sunak, it was a very warm greeting. They are very close indeed. They're both, of course, passionate members of the Hindu religion, and they share a faith. And they do seem to have quite a bond. And Modi himself is hugely successful in India, with an election coming up next year, of course. This is all part of what he's doing. And he wants to show, look, I've got billions from the West, you know, coming in to help every poor country. He's positioning himself as a kind of saintly figure. But those who remember the 2002 Gujarat riots and the 2020 New Delhi riots, where an awful lot of Muslims seem to have been killed rather unnecessarily, Modi is a very divisive figure in India still.
Rishi Sunak, though, surely is sort of defending himself now against any green criticism domestically.
Yeah.
He'll always be... the minute any criticism comes at him, why are you not doing X, Y, Z about domestic green issues, he'll be able to say, look, I've given a record amount of money to the International Green Fund.
I mean, it almost feels a little bit like a guilty payment. And again, I don't think it works here. It really doesn't. And I think, You know, the last thing the Conservatives need is more questioning about everything they do.
You see, this is what worries me, and it's not even to talk about the rights and wrongs of the International Green Fund or the Green Agenda. It's the fact it all seems very tone deaf, as if they're just not hearing what the country is saying.
Yes, I think that's true. And I mean, I don't think either of the major parties, quite frankly, the one thing they don't have is any long-term vision. I don't know what either of them really stands for anymore. It used to be quite obvious that the Conservatives looked after the middle and wealthy, and the Labour Party looked after the poorer people and were supported by the trade unions. But now Labour's moving right and Conservatives are moving left. And so we've got two parties that are beginning to look very similar. And, of course, then we have the Lib Dems, who stand for absolutely nothing at all.
Well,
it's a great choice for us, isn't it?
It is, yes.
Oh, I'm sure you get a Lib Dem on, I'm sure they disagree with you on that, Piers.
Well, they
but,
might
you know,
do. I'd be fascinated to hear a policy from the Lib Dems, something we've never heard for years.
Well, you know, you never know your luck in the run-up to this election. Piers Pottinger, good to see you. Thanks very much.